Thank you, Chairman. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you and my colleagues for entrusting me with the responsibilities of Vice Chair of this committee and the chairship for the Subcommittee on National Parks, Forests, and Public Lands. I look forward to working with you and my colleagues to protect our public lands and to meet our obligations to our Indigenous communities. To that point, this hearing is important and an appropriate place to begin this Congress. As we heard from all our witnesses, climate change poses an unprecedented threat to our communities and our environment. Last year, in my state of New Mexico, the U Park fire burned tens of thousands of drought-stricken acres, while the city of Santa Fe experienced once-in-a-thousand-year flood. Meanwhile, a vast methane cloud hovers over the northwest corner of New Mexico, and this administration has worked to weaken the rules on methane emissions from oil and gas operations. Methane is more than 80 times more powerful than carbon dioxide at trapping heat and is responsible for about a quarter of the warming we are experiencing today. Nearby in Arizona, Hurricane Rosa inundated the Tohono O'odham Nation, nearly overtopping their dam, trapping residents behind impassable roads and forcing evacuations. Hurricanes have almost never reached this part of Arizona before. Climate change has forced us to live in a new normal in which fires and floods, droughts and hurricanes wreck our communities and our natural heritage, and it's now time for us to act. I first would like to just thank Ms. Nazar for your commitment and your sacrifice to the things you believe in. I almost want to apologize to you and the youth of this world who go to bed every night worrying about what will happen to our communities because of climate change. And I just want to recognize your presence here. It means a great deal to me and to many of us, so thank you very much. Ms. Jean-Pierre, I think you are best equipped to answer this question, so I'll ask it to you. Right now, the EPA and Interior Department are run by former lobbyists for coal and oil companies. The New York Times reported last year that a coal magnate was essentially getting his entire wish list of energy deregulations approved by this administration. What role do you believe this corporate capture of the administration will play in being able to address the climate crisis?
I think that the deregulation is exacerbating the climate crisis, particularly in frontline communities and indigenous communities. You're from New Mexico, where you've got nuclear energy and uranium in the lungs and the water and people. It's affecting 60 nations and tribes. The decisions that are being made to support an old school way of thinking about energy are really racing us towards extreme catastrophic events. The truth is that even in places like Kentucky, people are moving away from coal. One of our organizations, which is with the Climate Justice Alliance, Kentuckians for the Commonwealth, are working at operationalizing just transitions that move people away from having to depend on an economic system that has destroyed their lives and limited their livability. And so while people in communities are doing that, you've got an EPA that is racing towards moving policies that are basically taking us back in time. So it is really dangerous, and it is a contribution to actually making us look like the day after tomorrow. And it is unfortunate that this old school, dated way of thinking about how we basically consume and use energy is really creating more problems for our communities. I think that honestly, people in different parts of the world are way ahead of us, and that the United States is really looking like this clunky old school machine that can't keep up not only with the technology but the science. And so it's frightening. EPA has always had people in there that are in the pockets of the lobbyists, really slowing down the cogs and making it impossible for us to move as fast as the climate is changing. And so now what we're seeing is really dangerous. So that's what I would contribute.
I appreciate that very much. Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I will submit other questions in writing. Thank you.
Mr. Hearn.